Hey guys, today let's talk about my impressions of Season 12. What got broken, what got fixed, and what still doesn't work. Also, what I liked and what I didn't, and most importantly, why it was cool or not cool. New off here, let's get into it. First thing, an anvil and a chest have been added to the new NPC. For those who play a little, they might experience a shortage of resources from salvaging items, that's true. But for those who play even a couple of hours a day, this anvil isn't necessary because it's much faster to sell unwanted items back to the same vendor for gold. Although sometimes, and again, if you don't play a lot, in this gambling you might come across stronger aspects than you have, and in that case, having the blacksmith nearby is useful. But the chest can definitely be useful. No idea why Blizzard didn't do this from the start. And it's cool that the developers added a highlight for an aspect that is a higher tier right in this vendor's interface. That's convenient. Previously, we could only see a higher tier aspect in the blacksmith's interface. The slaughterhouse, I don't have much to say here. Going there 5 times is fun, more than that, no. In the seasonal journey, the task to go there 25 times is honestly annoying. Why? Because the controls are inconvenient, you can't change the keys. When you move the mouse slightly beyond the nearest target in a crowd of mobs, the butcher might stop attacking. That's if the generator is held down. The passages in some city locations where we are running around are narrow. The reward is minimal and unimpressive. 3 items to trash and a bit of meat. Other activities give much more meat. My rating is 3 out of 5. Transformation into the butcher in Helltide. No questions or complaints here. Personally, I liked everything. Helltide is already my favorite location, and here there's also the chance to run around as the butcher. They added a task for the number of kills in the butcher's form. I like everything about it. I give it 4 out of 5 because of the inability to configure the butcher's control keys. A new Uber boss, that's good in any case, but what's especially good, in my opinion, what's simply great is that with the butcher there are no camera zoom out or perspective shifts. That is terribly annoying, especially on Belial. And I really hope that the lack of zoom on the butcher is a conscious decision, not due to lack of time. I still want to believe that people can mature and give up these childish gimmicks that annoy adults. Yes, and the fact that it's not a long run to the Uber boss is also a straight up plus, because trying to play for epicness with long corridors is also so childish. In the end, if anyone got confused, I'm saying directly, this is me praising the devs. Uber Butcher is 5 out of 5. Now for the secrets of Season 12. The very idea of secretly surprising players after clearing a Tier 100 pit with something like increasing the entire difficulty based on seasonal sigils I consider irrational. There's not much to discuss here anyway. Season 12 already had half the players come back compared to the previous 2 seasons, and then they secretly pulled a fast one on them under the guise of some kind of difficulty tests. Some people leveled a new character to replace their ruined one, while others left the season. And for some, such surprises became the reason to leave the game entirely. After the patch, the difficulty of Tier 7 keys was lowered, as promised. It was pit level plus 45, it became pit level plus 35. It's not like it became easier for everyone except Paladin. However, it did become a bit easier for the Paladin itself to handle mobs in the Butcher at plus 35. For everyone else, it doesn't matter if it's plus 45 or plus 35, it's still insurmountable. But then again, if you haven't figured it out, that was the intention. Someone who didn't buy the expansion should look like a chump, not only in their own eyes, but also in the eyes of others. But that's not what's particularly annoying. It's that they're trying to sell me 2 expansions at once, one of which I already have. By the way, this is relatively soft power, forcing purchases. I have a story about this. Sometime after the expansion for Diablo 3 was released, when forming a group for co-op play, the whole party would get a timeout waiting for a connection for 45 seconds or 1 minute. I don't remember exactly how long. It wasn't immediate. For about the first 6 months, everything was fine. It started later. And the reason for the timeout was that someone in the group didn't have the DLS, meaning a person could play in a party with any class except one. The content was shared and didn't depend on whether you had the DLS or not. But in this way, they showed the whole group, there is a person among you without the DLS, and you should know who is causing this minute wait when forming the group. Naturally, this happened by accident. Bugs happen. So accidental that no one was ready to fix it, and this fix dragged on for several months. But I repeat, it was such a coincidence. Back to Season 12 now. Tree of Whispers Double Cash event is live. This is for 1 week until March 31st. We do everything as usual, but inside the cache is another cache. It, traditionally, is not highlighted in any way among the rest of the legendary trash. Also, tempering recipes and other useful items are not highlighted either. Useless quest items are highlighted by color. Yes, that's visual. The Gold and Experience event has also started, but for 2 weeks until April 7th. The very idea of killstreaks I didn't like. I didn't like it for a banal reason. The mechanic was slapped together hastily and is not balanced. Simply put, to seriously rely on cooldown reduction or crit chance or attack speed when optimizing a build, you need to get the right affixes in the right slots. And that's not so easy, and I'm certainly not going to bother with that in a filler season lasting 1.5 months. Casual players won't bother with this in any season, so I won't even rate anything here. I'll just say it's mediocre whether this feature exists or not. I note that on some fronts, for example the pit, nothing has been done. Moreover, the very concept of solving the problem through inflating progress is somehow pathetic, but it is what it is. Diablo 4 rarely has elegant solutions. They usually slap on crutches. I don't like to mention Last Epoch, but they had an elegant solution. All locations are looped, and no matter where the player runs, there won't be a dead end with backtracking, so take and use it. But in Diablo 4, they chose the path of crutches. Still, in Helltide, you cannot go to town after activating hearts at the altars to get the task cache, for example. You can't because the offerings will disappear, and you won't get the rewards for them. This has been in the game for a year now, maybe 2. But what really got to me is the problem with the rogue. Look, I had never played a rogue before and decided to play this short season with it. I had heard that the rogue has problems here and there, but I thought since the problems are known, they would fix them. I started with the rogue. The start and leveling with Dance of Knives were magnificent. The start is fast, comfortable, leveling is pleasant. I didn't discover this in Season 12, but at the end of Season 11, I played a week on Dance of Knives, figured it out, and made a guide. And then when it came time to moving to other builds, it turned out that surprisingly Blizzard hadn't thought of fixing anything. That is, with the strongest builds, which are Heartseeker for high pits, and the Death Trap build for top mobility, is the same problems. Death Trap issues. First, Blizzard made a forced switch to the range weapon, which lowered the skill's damage. At the same time, the passive weapon mastery now doesn't work. The second remaining bug, we are forced to use either Dark Shroud or Second Wind for a barrier. These defensive nodes do not work together, although they should. There is a bug with the animation in the dash skill, which causes a rubber band effect, where you get pulled back. Furthermore, when mobs are present in the location, all animations are choppy and the character moves in jerks. Zero pleasure. But on Dummy, for example, everything runs smoothly, meaning they forcibly switched weapons from daggers to a bow, but they don't care how you play. How unexpected, right? This has never happened before. Suddenly, there were no animations, no damage, no build at all. The second rogue build is Heartseeker. The damage of this build is based on a bug with Shadow Clone. And this has been the case, according to those playing rogue, for at least 3 seasons, including the current one. I checked. It's true. In Season 9, there was a Twisting Blades build. Starting from Season 10, the bugged Heartseeker came to the forefront, and it remains there to this day. I could have found out the details earlier before Season 12, but I liked the Dance of Knives build with poison traps so much during my tests. It's like the same beloved Barbarian Whirlwind build, a calm, measured gameplay, and at the same time strong enough for farming the pit. For example, 79. I won't even mention T4. There's a big margin. It's a bit weak for Ubers, yes, but overall I really like the gameplay. And weak, that's a relative concept. I'm used to the Sorcerer, which is very strong against single targets, whether on Crackling Energy or Hydra. But here you need to hit the Uber boss on T4, not for 1 second, but for 10. That's long. Yes, I will note that the new dagger does not provide any benefit against single targets. Moreover, I never understood what an isolated target means in terms of understandable numbers. Is it some kind of distance to another target? And if so, if an elite mob summons a minion, does it remain isolated? Maybe someone can tell me where to find the decoding of this mysterious term. Also, I got stuck at Zir behind a chest, but I have no complaints. No one could have foreseen something like that. But look how she stands up. This is how animation should be drawn. On that note, I will allow myself to conclude my review of Season 12. I hope I didn't forget anything. If I forgot, write a comment. If I didn't forget, write what a great guy I am. Thanks for watching. Peace.